Never lets me go that way. Why? I don't understand it, guys. Every friggin' time. I want to be able to do the show this way, but it never lets me. I got to figure that one out. I think that would help a lot. Yeah. Anyways, we are here. That's what matters, right? We are here. Bumpty 5X. I think that's a new name. I don't recognize that. Thanks for stopping by, man. We're gonna have a good show. Lucas Sharp, Brandon Kinsley, they're in the house. Hey, that means YouTube's actually doing their job. They're alerting people that I'm live. Thank you, YouTube. I appreciate that because that's out of my hands. So yeah, I think we're gonna have a good show. Still some things going on in college football. I don't think that the realignment train is done yet. I think it's still chugging. I think it's still going to keep going. So, yeah. Pigskin Pizza in the house. What's going on, bud? Thanks for stopping by. My show isn't as nearly as professional as yours, so, you know, keep that in mind. Bear with me. I'm still fairly new at this. It's getting better, though. It is getting better. It is getting better. Speaking of which, I got to lower the mic, guys, so sorry for the pop. There we go. Good. That's where I want it to be. And if you hear noises in the background or whatever, my kids are getting ready for bed. And I don't know if y'all know this or not, but I do my live show from my bedroom. And so the walls are kind of thin and they're still trying to wind down. We'll get there, though. So we know that Oklahoma and Texas are going to the SEC. I know that West Virginia is going to the ACC. There's still a lot of doubters out there. You know, where's your sources? Where's your proof? I get it. I understand. But trust me, West Virginia is going to the ACC. And then over the past couple of days, it looks like Kansas and Iowa State could be going to the Big Ten. Now, I did a video earlier today saying that I thought that maybe Oklahoma State, but I was actually incorrect. Oklahoma State is not an AAU accredited team. But, you know, maybe they'll overlook that. Hold on one second. Hey, can somebody turn off the fan right there? That one's a loud one.
This one?
Yeah, that one. Yeah.
How do you?
Sorry. Like I said, it's... There we go.
Okay.
Alright, so, but Iowa State is. And if they brought in Iowa State, you know, they'd keep the Iowa State-Iowa rivalry within conference. And if they were in the same division, they would still get to play every year. So that wouldn't be a problem. But then you also got the possible combination of bringing in Kansas and Kansas State. Because they're rivals. And they know that they're bringing... Hold on, guys. A little loud. Yeah, this is live, guys. I can't edit it out. Anyways, there's always the intriguing idea of Kansas and Kansas State going to the Big Ten. I know for sure, I'd say about 97, 98% sure that Kansas is going to the Big Ten. The big question is who's going with Kansas to the Big Ten. And I had three choices: Iowa State, Kansas State, and Oklahoma State. I think Oklahoma State would be the most competitive all around, but they're not AAU accredited. They are a Tier 1 research facility, though, so they would qualify to be in the Pac-12. So there's that option as well. So the next one on the list was Kansas State. Kansas State doesn't really bring much to the table, but they are a rival to Kansas. So it could be a package deal where you're getting Kansas and Kansas State. I don't know. And then there's Iowa State. In the video that I did earlier today, I had them on the bottom of the list, but I had my AAU accreditation facts mixed up. They're actually higher on the list than what I thought. The basketball program, not doing well right now, but they do have great facilities, and they have been a powerhouse in the past. And yes, Kansas State is not AAU accredited either. I was just talking about the rivalry with Kansas. I don't know if the Big Ten is willing to overlook the AAU thing because desperate times call for desperate measures. Now, if the AAU accreditation is not a big deal now, then we're looking at a whole new ballgame. I mean, then they could pretty much go out and ask for anybody. So, yeah. Nebraska isn't AAU, but whenever they were accepted into the Big Ten, they were AAU. They lost their AAU accreditation since they've joined the Big Ten. I don't know how all that works. I just know the timeline. They were AAU accredited whenever they joined the Big Ten, and they lost it during their tenure of being in the Big Ten. And then there's also these theories that the Big Ten could also go after Colorado and possibly Utah. That would be a fairly interesting thing as well. I don't know about the AAU accreditation type of thing, but that's an interesting theory as well. My personal opinion, my personal theory would be, my personal belief would be that the Big 12 does get picked apart. You'd have 5 teams after the Big Ten picks off 2. I know that they're not interested, 100%, they're not interested in TCU, Baylor, or Texas Tech. And then you'd have the leftovers of either Oklahoma State and Kansas State, or Iowa State, Kansas State, or Iowa State, Oklahoma State. Whichever of the 2 gets left out. Does the Big 12 and the Pac-12 merge from those 5? And then maybe the Pac-12 picks off an extra team, maybe a Boise State type of thing? Or does the Big 12 stay intact and try to pick off some bigger members of, say, a Conference USA, a Sun Belt? I've heard that Louisiana and Louisiana Tech are interested in joining the Big 12. Yes, I have heard that. You have some pretty good teams in the AAC. If they could grab a UCF, a Houston, and then, like I was talking about, the Sun Belt, Coastal Carolina. They're hot right now, but they're a very, very small team. Same with Liberty. They're hot names right now, but overall, they're small institutions. They don't bring a lot of money to the table. Eventually, maybe they could get to that point. I don't know. So I'm not really thinking about teams like that. But Louisiana Tech, UCF, Houston, possibly a Memphis, Cincinnati would be a name to keep an eye on. So it's, as far as being a Power 5, it's over for the Big 12. That part of the Big 12 is done. But as far as being a conference, might not be done. The Big 12 might have some options if they're okay with losing their Power 5 status. Or, what we've been hearing, merging with the Pac-12. So, a lot of scenarios on the table. I don't know if Tiger Baskins is done with his workout routine, but if he's done, he can call in, or we can go ahead and move on to Sports Nerd. I have you down as second, but I haven't seen Tiger Baskins, so you could actually call in if you want to, Sports Nerd. The line is open. I have you written down. You emailed me. You're good to go, sir. Call in whenever you're ready. And then after that, I have some other people lined up to call in. So, should be a pretty full call-in show. A lot of things to talk about. I also did a video on where Oklahoma and Texas could fall as far as the rankings go in the SEC. I talked about how they ranked since the last merger, because what happened 20 plus years ago doesn't matter. It's what's happened recently. Speak of Sports Nerd, here he is. What's going on, Sports Nerd?
Hey, how you doing?
I'm good, man. I still love that name, man. It's awesome.
I'm sorry?
I said I still love that name you got. It's awesome.
Yeah, man. I figured I had to do something, make me stand out a little bit. Even though apparently there's like 18 other sports nerds on YouTube, but hey, I'm the sports nerd, so.
Yeah, I noticed that the other day. Whenever I looked under subscriptions, whenever I typed it up, there was actually more. I'm like, what? So yeah, you are correct about that.
I might need to change it to the, or change it to a number, but either way,
there you
I'll
go.
fix it.
I think the, maybe even, not just the like THE, but THEE, like the, like that.
Well, Well, I'm a Michigan fan. That's the one main reason I'm not doing because there's another team that's called the.
Well, wouldn't that be like rubbing the salt in their wounds? Like you could turn it around on them. It could be like a sarcasm towards them.
I feel like I'd just be giving them some what do you call it? Some royalties on their name. So I'll leave it at what I'm doing.
I hear you. What's on your mind?
Oh, nothing, man. I listened to you the first, few minutes of this, this merger with the rumors of Kansas supposedly joining the Big Ten.
Yeah.
Being the next team in. Kansas was with Iowa State, I believe, with his initial rumors as well.
Yep.
What do you think it's going to be Iowa State? Do you think if Kansas does join, it would be a different team? I'll let you get it in real quick, and then I'll say my few thoughts on these mergers. To me, it all
depends on whether they're willing to overlook the AAU accreditation. If that's a make or break, then it will be 100% Kansas and Iowa State, like done deal. But if they're willing to overlook that AAU, which Nebraska lost their accreditation since they've joined the Big Ten, then I think their best combo would be actually Kansas and Oklahoma State, because Oklahoma State they have a well-known coach in Mike Gundy, aka the Mullet. A lot of people don't know Oklahoma State is the second winningest Big 12 team since the merger, right behind Oklahoma. So I think you bring in a lot of credibility and name recognition if you were to bring in Oklahoma State. And their basketball program is on a roll too. So if you're going with the basketball, which if you're bringing in Kansas, you're going with basketball to bring them in. So if you're thinking basketball, then Oklahoma State would be another good choice.
I guess I could agree with you on that a little bit. I just need to get out of the framework and the mindset of these conferences expanding based off of geography, because obviously it's not going to be anything with geography if we're leaning towards a Big 12 or Sun Belt / Pac-12, combination or whatever it may be. We're going to have, again, West Virginia's in the Big 12, which they're the most northern team. They're more north than probably 90% of the teams in, most of these other conferences. So, but in my opinion, if we're going to go a little, off the beaten path, off track a little bit, I think Kansas should join, be the 15th member. And honestly, it should be the next team should either be Notre Dame, who I feel like even though they have their ACC ties, I still feel they're in the heart of Big Ten country.
I think Notre Dame should be on the top of everybody. Pac-12, if you're going to go after somebody, Notre Dame should be number one. SEC, if you're going after another person, Notre Dame number one. ACC, Notre Dame number one. Big Ten, Notre Dame number one. I don't care who you are, Notre Dame is going to be the number one team. I agree with you on that one.
Notre Dame is just a natural, traditional, just the style of football, their coach, everything about Notre Dame to
money making.
Well, besides the money making, besides the name value, obviously they're probably one of the top 5, revenue producing schools in the country as well. But just everything about Notre Dame just screams Big Ten. And they would be a perfect benefit, perfect addition. They just need to get past, the NBC, hundreds of millions of dollar deal with that. So to me, it's either Notre Dame or I'm going to say this, and people are going to say it's far fetched, but it's based off of geography. I say, since the Big 12 is dissolving, why don't the Big 10 just reach out to add Kansas and West Virginia?
I was thinking about that earlier today. That would be almost a perfect fit, because you'd be grabbing a team for your Big 10 West and you'd be grabbing a team for your Big 10 East. I agree with that. That would be a really, really good move. So, West Virginia and the ACC are in talks with each other right now. That is a fact. An announcement will come relatively soon, depending on all this legal stuff. But if the Big Ten were to be like, well, wait a minute, now we want to throw our hat in the ring. We want Kansas for the West, and we want West Virginia for the East. That might have West Virginia, being like, we like the ACC. We got some built-in rivalries. But the revenue in the Big Ten is a lot more. So, my personal opinion, if we get an offer on the table from the Big Ten and an offer on the table from the ACC, We gotta go with the Big Ten. We have to.
Yeah, I agree with you, man. And I'm going to throw this one out there, even though this is probably very, very unlikely and just maybe just kind of like a fantasy, booking kind of fantasy, conference realignment thing. But my biggest thing is, as a Big Ten fan, big Michigan fan for my whole life, but a Big Ten, Midwest, hard work kind of thing, mentality. I feel like if they were to truly expand to 16 teams, what they should do, add Kansas, add Iowa State. Those two would be in the West. Now, if you want to make a trade and basically get rid of Rutgers, they could either go to the ACC or the American, which is probably the most likely of the group of 5 teams to stick around.
Right.
And Maryland would go back to the ACC. And then, like I said, you would add Notre Dame and West Virginia. That would make it the 16 teams. And then, the proximity would be even. You have Purdue is in the West right now. You would take them to the East, and they put Notre Dame in the West, and it'd be even, 16, 8, and 8. And I feel like having the addition of Kansas, Iowa State, Notre Dame, and West Virginia would make the Big Ten.
Yes.
I don't know if it would surpass the SEC with Oklahoma and Texas, but it would make them, one of the Big Four conferences, like easily the second best.
I like the way you think. Now, I actually had this written down before the show of how this could potentially shake out. So I have 4 major conferences, and I have the members for them. So I'm going to go through them, and you let me know what you think real quick, okay? So the SEC, obviously, Georgia, Florida, Kentucky, Missouri, Tennessee, South Carolina, Vanderbilt, Alabama, Auburn, Ole Miss, Mississippi State, LSU, Arkansas, Texas A&M, Texas, and Oklahoma. There's your SEC. For the ACC, Clemson, NC State, Louisville, Boston College, Florida State, Syracuse, Wake Forest, Virginia, Virginia Tech, Pitt, Duke, North Carolina, Georgia Tech, Miami, West Virginia, and Notre Dame. Here's the Big Ten. Ohio State, Penn State, Rutgers, Maryland, Michigan, Michigan State, Indiana, Purdue, Illinois, Minnesota, Wisconsin, Northwestern, Nebraska, Iowa, Iowa State, and Kansas. So basically staying for par. Here's the Pac-12. This is where it could get interesting. USC, UCLA, Stanford, Cal, Arizona, Arizona State, Colorado, Utah, Washington, Washington State, Oregon, Oregon State, Oklahoma State, Kansas State, Texas Tech, and either Baylor or TCU. Or they could get both and add a Boise State. So the Pac-12 would be adding Oklahoma State, Kansas State, Texas Tech, either or Baylor, TCU, or grab them both and grab a Boise State. Now, whether you like it or not, how likely do you think that could happen?
Well, I think, again, I'm going back to the proximity geographic layout of this. I think the most probable, for the Pac-12 to go from 12 to 16, they were going to need to grab at least 2 of those Big 12 teams that you said. Probably, most likely, Oklahoma State and Kansas State. Now, the other 2, in my opinion, they should go hard after Boise State out of the Mountain West because they've been top of the line in, the group of 5. They've been one of the best teams. And if you really want to get a big-name school that hasn't really been in a conference ever, BYU, why don't they become the 16th member?
Yeah, I think the Tier 1 research facility thing needs to be overlooked, and the religious rule needs to be overlooked. And that's what a lot of people are basing their decisions on. Well, they're not a Tier 1 research. They're not an AAU school. They're a religious school. All these ridiculous sideline guidelines. Well, the game changed whenever the SEC went out and got Oklahoma and Texas. Now you're going to have to sit down and rethink those rules. Because if you're going to stick, stern to those rules, then for the Pac-12, no BYU, no Boise State, no Baylor, no TCU. A lot of teams get eliminated. Same thing with the Big Ten. If they want to stick with the AAU accreditation, 100%, then Oklahoma State, no chance. Kansas State, no chance. West Virginia, no chance. I even think Notre Dame is an AAU. I might be mistaken on that. Don't hold me, don't hold me down on that one. But those old rules have got to be more flexible now.
Well, I think we need to, if we're going to, fantasy rearrange all these conferences, we're going to need to just let the rules, kind of be put to the side with the, any of these, the tier 1, the AAU stuff like you've been saying, and just kind of, go more of what is most likely for, recent success, the geography, like I've been saying, and just kind of, book it from there.
Exactly.
My biggest thing is, if there's going to be these four mega conferences, here's what I think should happen to the next level of these mid-tier, the group of 5, and even the FCS. When these 4 big conferences are created, that means the Sun Belt, MAC, Mountain West, Conference USA, and the American, depending on what the American does, if they move up, if they stay kind of, the mid-tier, whatever they are. If they are going to be in the mid-tier with this, they need to create their own division, basically. They need to go between the FCS and the FBS, which would be the new group of 4 Power 4 conferences, and basically just create their own division and create their own playoff, because those teams are never going to have a chance to win a national title for the the group of 4 or the Power 4 conferences. But they're also not going to be relegated to the FCS. They're not going to be absorbed by them. There'd be no reason to. So they should just go ahead and create their own division. There's going to be between 60 and 75 teams, depending on, how the conferences realign.
Right. And
some of these conferences that lose, some of the bigger members, like, Boise State for the Mountain West, or Cincinnati, who's the other one? Memphis and the American, some of the Sun Belt, Appalachian or Coastal, who had really good recent success, they may move up. You can move up FCS members. North Dakota State is definitely due for a call up from FCS. I think they would work perfectly in the Mountain West.
Yeah.
Other good teams like James Madison or Sam Houston, some of those other schools need to move up to like the Sun Belt and the Conference USA, American, all that. So that's just my take on, what the mid-tier would do for the underneath the Power 4 conferences. So
I've been saying that all along. I've been saying that before this Power 4 theory came out, because even before all this happens, right now, present day college football, the group of 5, and they proved it last year with Cincinnati and the FPI, which is what screws the group of 5. The group of 5 have no chance of winning a national championship. So what is the point of being a group of 5 team? At least in the FCS, they have their own thing. They have their own playoffs. They have their own national championship. And then you go up to the next division, FBS. Well, the Power 5s, all the Power 5 teams, they have a chance to win a national championship if you go undefeated, or if you're in a really good conference, only have 1 loss. Where if you're in a group of 5, it doesn't matter if you go undefeated or not. You need a ton of luck, and you need that FPI to not screw you. You don't have any chance. So I think it's actually been long overdue for the group of 5 to split off, create their own division, create their own playoffs, and create their own national championship. Because right now, I'm thinking to myself, what is the point? What is the point of being in a group of 5 team if you literally have a 0% chance of winning any type of a national championship?
I agree, man. I mean, there's been time and time again, even before the the Power 5, Group of 5 mantra even existed, even like the mid 2000s kind of range. There's been plenty of really good lower conference teams that could say, hey, we have a chance to win the national title. 2006 Boise State, obviously with that upset over Oklahoma, and then 2 years later they went undefeated to beat TCU in the bowl game. 2010 TCU went 13-0. They were in the Mountain West. What else is that? 2017 UCF, obviously they got votes to win the national title there. I mean, even the last couple years, Memphis, they were 12-2. Yeah, they got blown out in their bowl game, but they had a chance. 13-1 Appalachian State in 2019. They had a good chance too. I mean, I did a video on this where it showed how many different teams won at least 11 or 12 games, and it could have had at least a say in having an upset if these playoffs were expanded as well. Maybe that's a different topic for a different day. But either way, I agree. What's the point of these teams? UCF went 2 straight years of undefeated, and they didn't get any higher than, I think, 9th in the CFP ranking. So it's like, what's the point of them even trying to compete, recruit at such a high level if it's not even going to be worth it?
Exactly. I agree with that, man. 100%. That's a good call, man. Good call.
So, I mean, that's just my take on what's happening with these lower tier conferences. The big conferences, I mean, it's all still hearsay. I mean, I saw this Kansas thing like you were talking about earlier. the reports are saying, oh, well, it's confirmed, and it's like, okay, well, I've had my sources, we don't know until it actually comes out and it's finalized, just like this Oklahoma and Texas thing. So
Right.
we'll just have to wait and see what the Big Ten expansion is on this, man. But for the Pac-12's sake, like you initially asked, I mean, there's so many teams that could be eligible to join their conference if they were to be part of the Power Four. So
Good take, man. That was a good take. Awesome.
so.
Well done,
All
man.
right, man.
Have a good rest of your evening, man, and call in on another show, all right?
All right, appreciate it, man. Thank you for your time, and I'll talk to you soon.
All right, man. Have a good night.
All right, you too.
Sports Nerd, he actually pretty much has good takes every time he's called in. Of course, my pen doesn't work. Of course. There we go. Good calling. So, we have Wisconsin fan. If you want to call in, Jacob, Andrew, Colin Molnar. You can. I don't know if I'm saying your last name right or not. You can call in. Basically, the line is open for the guys that have emailed me. So I'm calling out your name. First come, first serve. I've tried to line them up, but sometimes it don't work out because sometimes they don't call. So Colin, American Football Network. If you're watching, you can call in. And Brad Snowden. Well, Brad told me he didn't want to call in this evening, so he's good. But any of you other, and of course, Tiger Baskins, if you're in the comments section, feel free to call in as well. The phone lines are open for all the others that emailed me and wanted to line up. But yeah, I agree with pretty much everything Sports Nerd said. By the way, when you're done here, go check out his YouTube channel. He's got some good stuff over there. He needs to be at 1,000 subscribers. I don't know if he's hit that yet, but the last time I checked, he was just shy. Just shy, guys. And all he needs is your subscription to get there. You're up with Golden Blue Dude.
Hey, my man, it's Colin. How you doing tonight?
I'm good, bud. How are you?
I'm good. Sorry if I was a little late calling in. I was just cleaning up dinner and everything.
Well, the way I tried to set it up is whenever y'all send me an email, I try to email what number you are, but sometimes people are late. So basically, it's first come, first serve. As long as I've emailed you and there's nobody on the line, you're more than welcome to call in.
All right, sounds good, man.
We're
Thank
good.
you. I appreciate that. So how you doing tonight? You been okay? How's the show been so far?
So far, so good. Sports Nerd, he had a pretty good take on as far as all this realignment and the group of five needing to split off and have their own, playoff division, national championship type thing, which I think is long overdue because they really have no shot of winning any type of national championship right now.
You said group of five, right?
Right, group of five.
So who's the last actual group of five team that you think had a shot at the national championship? Do you think that UCF team from...
I think it was Cincinnati last year.
It's Cincinnati, but they should have won the bowl game they were playing. Who they play in that bowl game?
Georgia. Georgia.
That's right. Yeah. That's right. I don't know. What team gets me about the group of five is when Boise State was when they had Kellen Moore and
Oh yeah.
Yahi back. They were. I think that was probably the Power Five's best chance, or Group of Five's best chance to get a national championship at the time.
You might be right.
I agree with the Cincinnati roster from last year. I think I think his name's what Ritter. Is that the quarterback's name?
Desmond Ritter.
Yeah,
you're right.
I think he might be possibly top 3 on the draft board for quarterbacks this year coming out. I mean,
Yeah.
I don't think it's a strong or weak class. I think it's just a quarterback class that's got a lot to prove. I think he's got a lot of upside to him, if you know what I mean.
Yeah, absolutely, man. I agree with that.
But,
they have a good
I
defense
missed the video.
too.
Oh, go ahead. I apologize. My apologies.
No, I was just throwing in there that Cincinnati will have a really good defense as well.
Oh yeah, I'm sure they will. They're returning a lot of starters from what I've heard and seen.
Yeah.
I think they'll be squared away definitely. But hey, I missed your video on the realignment today about Kansas going to the Big Ten. What's going on with that? I saw a couple things here and there, like a couple articles or a couple tweets, but I haven't really been able to dive deep in what they're saying. Can you give me a quick update on that?
Well, basically, 2 weeks ago, my strong inside sources said, West Virginia's in talks with the ACC and Kansas was in talks with the Big Ten. Well, it's starting to leak out now that that announcement for Kansas could come out within the next 2 weeks. They labeled it as imminent. I do think they'll bring another team in, and the video that I did today was talking about the other candidates that the Big Ten could be looking at. And I listed Iowa State, Oklahoma State, and Kansas State. I did make a mistake. I said that Oklahoma State was AAU accredited. They are not. It's actually Iowa State that's AAU accredited. So probably the biggest, as far as picking out of that particular group, Iowa State, Kansas State, and Oklahoma State, it'd probably be Kansas and Iowa State. But then, earlier, Sports Nerd said if they are willing to look over the AAU, why not go after Kansas for the Big Ten West and West Virginia for the Big Ten East? And, you know, I would love West Virginia to go to the ACC. We have a lot of built-in rivalries. I think it's very, very winnable. But if you have an offer on the table from the ACC, and even though they're late, you have an offer on the table from the Big Ten, you got to take that offer from the Big Ten.
We talked about that last week. Remember, I think I asked you that last week on the show. I said, would you mind us going to the Big Ten? Because I think I even brought up that accreditation because that was the first thing that came to my head. But absolutely, I completely agree with you. You've got to take that offer from the Big Ten. Especially, I mean, you know, money calls, money, people go where the money is. And I think that, like, the Big Ten obviously would have more money. I think I would love going to play the Big Ten. Penn State, Ohio State, Michigan, those teams.
Hey, hold on one second. Hey, if y'all want to call in, Wisconsin will put in my email. You have to email me, and that way I know your number. This limits the trolls. We don't give out the call-in number over the live show because then we have trolls come in and they say words they're not supposed to say. So if you want to call in, send me an email, your name, your number. I'll write it down, and you'll be good to go. Sorry about that.
But hey, man, I think we both agree on the Big Ten. I would completely 100% love to go there. As much as I would love to go to the ACC.
Yeah.
I feel like those programs are struggling. Like programs like Boston College, Wake Forest, and no disrespect to them whatsoever, but those programs are really struggling right now. Not that West Virginia, who I'm obviously biased towards, has been excellent in the past few years, but been at least a little bit competitive.
Yeah.
So, I don't know.
Here's the thing about West Virginia, okay? So, it wouldn't be the same thing as what we did whenever we accepted the better offer from the Big 12 the last go-around. The Big 12 is just out of our geography. So, it's not like we're doing that all over again. The Big 10 is actually in West Virginia's geography. So is the ACC. So, what is the deciding factor? The money. If the geography is there on both sides of the table, then you look at the money. And, of course, the money would definitely 100% favor the Big Ten. And, yes, you would have Ohio State in the Big Ten East, which is where West Virginia would be. But you also have Michigan. They're beatable. Michigan State, we would definitely beat them right now. Indiana, they would be tough. But I think a home game against Indiana is winnable. And then, of course, Maryland, we already played them this year. Very winnable. Rutgers, we beat them on a yearly basis. I don't think Rutgers have ever beaten us, to be honest with you. So, the Big Ten East isn't as horrible as people make it out to be. I mean, let's be honest, Ohio State does own it, and it probably depends on who you draw from the West. You could probably have a very nightmarish schedule. But at the same time, nothing like the Big 12 as far as having to, travel across the country. Nearest away game was Iowa State. That would be like one of our farthest away games if we had to do something like that in the Big Ten.
So here's a good question for you. So if you say we either or, we can join the ACC or Big Ten. Who would you rather go up against? Who would you rather go up against every single year to face the championship? Because like you said, Ohio State dominates the Big Ten, and obviously Clemson dominates the ACC in football. Each year, if you're the second or third competing team in either of those conferences, who would you rather play in those conference championships every year, Ohio State or Clemson? Who do you think you would have a better chance of beating year in, a year out, or maybe one out of every three if they're still competitive and you get into the game?
Right. So the better chance, and this is not saying that we would actually beat them, but the better chance of beating them right now would be Ohio State. Now, it's number one, it's really, really close. So if you're a Buckeye fan, don't get offended. And I'm not saying we would beat Ohio State. I just think we'd have a slightly better shot of beating Ohio State at this point in time. But at the same time, I might have to eliminate myself from that conversation because I actually live near Clemson, South Carolina. So to be able to see, a West Virginia versus Clemson in the ACC championship in Charlotte, that would be a dream. But as far as the best chance, I'd have to go with Ohio State just because, I think Clemson is just a smidge better than Ohio State. And yes, I know. Ohio State beat Clemson last year. I know. I get it. But overall, on a year-to-year basis, Clemson has been just a smidge better than Ohio State.
Yeah, I agree with that. That's such a hard question. I honestly can't give you. I'd probably go back and forth on it each day. For me, with the question like that, I obviously come back to coaching. And like, who do I think is a better coach, the Ryan Day or Dabo Swinney? I'd probably have to go with Dabo Swinney. I mean, like Ryan Day was handed a beautiful program. He was handed Dabo Swinney wasn't handed the gold medalist program like Ryan Day was. So that's what I'd probably come back to is the head coaching, things of that nature.
And one more thing. I do think, and this is completely contradicting myself because I just said that I think we'd have a better chance of beating Ohio State over Clemson. But hear me out. It does make sense. I do think if West Virginia were to beat Ohio State, it would give us more credibility. Like Clemson is in a hot stretch right now. They are elite, right up there with Alabama. But beating an Ohio State team is beating history. You talk about instant credibility. That I think the bigger win would be over Ohio State, even though I think we'd have a slightly better chance of beating Ohio State as far as for our team history and momentum. I think beating Ohio State would mean more to us than beating Clemson.
I agree with that. I do agree with that. Because, hey, man, we beat Clemson, beat the piss out of last time we played.
We did. That's right. I remember the last time we played Ohio State, they were number 1, we were number 11, and they beat us 34-17 in Morgantown. So, yeah, Ohio State's had our number.
I don't remember that. That must have been a while ago.
Yeah, I think that was like 97, 98, somewhere around that.
Oh, so I was born, I was born in 98, so I'm right there.
There you go.
Yeah.
It was a good game in the first quarter.
I said, I don't want to take up too much of your time. I always try to give you 10 minutes. I don't want to be rude because I know you got other people waiting and everything. And I could talk with you all night, but I hate to be rude.
No, you're not rude, man. You're good. You're good.
All right. I appreciate the email and let me know when you're going live and everything. So just shoot me one next time, and I'll be happy to join.
Hey, sounds good. Sounds good.
All right, my man. I'll talk to you later. Take it easy now.
All right. Have a good night, bud.
Yeah, you too. Bye.
Bye. That was another good conversation, and I saw, dadgummit, about lost my phone. I saw a comment on here. I want to go back to it. Brian Myers, I still have that game on tape. The 1998 Buckeyes should have been national champions. I knew it. It was 98. I'm wanting to say that was the first game of the year when Ohio State went to Morgantown and West Virginia was number 11 and Ohio State was number 1. And, I mean, I knew... For some reason, I had this feeling when West Virginia had to settle for a field goal on that first drive, I was like, something doesn't feel right. And, yeah, it didn't feel right for a reason. And actually, one of my uncles was at that game. They were at the top of the second deck, and he said it was freezing cold, which doesn't make sense because it was in September, but whatever. It was supposed to be one of those epic games, and it just turned out we were just outmatched. Ohio State was just... I don't know. They were on a different level than West Virginia, and they were a one-loss team, and their only loss was to their rival, and it was pretty good. That's a tough thing to swallow when you know you're that good, and a rivalry game costs you. I mean, ask Alabama with the kick 6 against Auburn. It's tough. All right, so Tiger Baskins, if you're in the chat, you can call. Wisconsin fan, I don't know if you're still awake. You can call. Jacob Andrew, I sent you an email. Phone lines are open. You know the phone number. You can call American Football Network. You're good too. And well, I'm gonna go ahead and mark the last one off because he already said he's not calling in. So all you guys are good to call in whenever you want. We're not going to post the number on the screen because of trolls. I think this is Wisconsin fan, if I'm not mistaken. Is this Wisconsin fan?
Yes, it is.
That's what I thought. What's going on, bud?
Nothing much. How are you?
Pretty good, man. We're having a pretty good live show so far.
Yeah.
Hey, so what do you think about the Big Ten getting Kansas and I'm going to go out on a limb and say Iowa State. Kansas and Iowa State.
Kansas and Iowa State are who I have going to the Big Ten.
Makes
They both
sense.
qualify, and really, West Virginia, Notre Dame, and any other school doesn't make as much sense. Notre Dame I would love to see, but when you really look at it, West Virginia fits better in the ACC with the Pitt, Virginia, Virginia Tech, Syracuse, and Boston College rivalries.
That's true. That's true. I still think they're not. I still think West Virginia isn't like a sore thumb type of thing where it sticks out. Like in the Big 12, it was like, the Midwest, and then way over here, West Virginia. They're still in there. You have Ohio
Yeah.
State around them, Penn State around, Maryland, Rutgers. They would fit in, but I do see what you're saying. They fit in more in the ACC.
Yeah, and then when it comes to the Pac-12, you were talking about that.
Yeah.
Baylor and TCU I see dropping to the American
Yeah.
due to the fact that they don't qualify. And I know you're saying about qualification, but who hasn't qualified for a conference and made it in?
That's true. Yep. I get what you're
I
saying.
think Houston joins the Pac-12 over Baylor or TCU, and it really comes down to, I think, Houston, Nevada, and UNLV, schools like that. And to me, Houston makes the most sense because of their
TV market.
historic greatness as well as their basketball program. None of them really have good football programs.
Quick question. Do you know if they're a Tier 1 research facility? I am not sure about that.
Houston is.
Okay, so they would actually qualify. And I think Houston would be a good get because of the TV market as well. That's actually
Yeah.
a pretty good suggestion right there. You might be onto something. Hold on a second. True Seminole, somebody, if you scroll up True Seminole to my email, send me an email of your phone number, and I will send you an email back. This is how we keep trolls from calling, because if I don't recognize the number, I'm not going to answer it, because, trolls call from crazy numbers that you don't know. So send me an email. I'll email you back, and even if you can't get in this evening, I'll have you on the next show. Promise. Sorry about that.
No problem. And then the ACC, West Virginia and Notre Dame would, I think, probably go both to a northern division. I don't see them having, the coastal and the Atlantic. I could see it being more north and south. And
I like
think
it.
that would actually benefit both of them because they're all together, and West Virginia would play Pitt, Virginia, and Virginia Tech every year.
I don't get this whole coastal and Atlantic thing.
Yeah.
I mean, aren't you supposed to divide your divisions based on region? And you got
Exactly.
teams that are right next to each other in completely different divisions. It makes no sense. It's weird.
Yeah, to me, it makes a lot of sense having Notre Dame there because of the ties, and I would rather see, say, Notre Dame and really whoever you want to put into the Big Ten and the Big Ten. A lot of schools around the country qualify for the Big Ten, but it wouldn't make any sense. So I don't see it going to two conferences. I think this is starting to get a little overdone because for now it's going to be four conferences and they're going to split away from the NCAA.
Yep.
Two conferences probably won't come for years.
Yep. That's a point that a lot of people are not talking about. This, all four might not do the same thing at the same time. It could be two now and then two later. So the timing on this could be all, weird as well. And
Yeah.
we all know it's going to be the SEC leading the way. Is it going to be the SEC and the ACC, the SEC, the Big Ten? It's definitely not going to be the SEC and the Pac-12. That's not going to happen. The Pac-12 is always last at doing what
Yeah.
they're supposed to do. So if I had to make a guess, I would probably say it would be the SEC and the Big Ten because they make the most money.
Yeah, and the thing is just, I saw your videos on the ACC and the SEC merging in the Big Ten and Pac-12. the qualifications. That would make like you'd be having Texas A&M and Texas in the Big Ten, and the SEC would just be grabbing whoever the Big Ten doesn't have. So to me, that doesn't make much sense to go to two conferences.
Right. I see that. The direction and the thing that set all this off was Oklahoma and Texas going to the Big 12. Not many people saw that coming, and really, whenever that happened, it's like, well, all bets are off. That was it. That was the, get the best teams you can move.
Yeah.
So that's really the only reason that I think that would happen and could happen. And let's be honest, it is money driven. And that would probably make the most money, get the best teams who make the most money all together, and hey, let's all, wash each other's hands and make each other a crap ton of money.
Yeah, and it was actually interesting. It wasn't on YouTube or anything, but I want to say a week before all this came out, I had been looking, I was like, what do I want college football to look like? And I thought Texas to the SEC made a lot of sense. I had Oklahoma going into a different conference, but I thought Texas to the SEC actually made a lot of sense, and it does. Oklahoma, I was not expecting at all. And for a while with the 4-conference setup, I thought that Texas was going to go to the Pac-12. Same for Oklahoma, maybe.
Yeah, they actually before the Big 12 brought in West Virginia and TCU. Texas and Oklahoma were literally about to sign a contract with the Pac-12. A lot of people don't know that. The Pac-12 was very, very close to getting Oklahoma and Texas. And for the Pac-12 to see Oklahoma and Texas go to the SEC has got to be a gut punch. That's got to be demoralizing. Yeah. Could have been. What could have been? Coulda, woulda, shoulda.
Yeah, and also you were talking about that how adding a team to the East and the West for the Big Ten would make sense with West Virginia in the East and Kansas in the West. All you have to do is add 2 to the West, say, for example, Kansas, Iowa State, and then just slide Purdue over to the East, and then they play Indiana. They don't have a Western rival. Yeah,
I actually did that before this previous video. I did one, I think it was like 2 weeks ago, and I think I did the exact same thing because Purdue is the farthest east out of the West Division, so they would be the easiest ones to slide into the East, and it would still be even. So yeah, I agree with that. That makes sense.
So I do have this. It really has nothing to do with anything that's going to happen, but I know you were doing SEC rankings with Texas and Oklahoma for this year.
Oh yeah,
what
I did.
What about the Big Ten West? Wisconsin, Iowa State.
Oh, you mean Kansas, Iowa State?
Yeah, how would Iowa State go up against Wisconsin for the first spot?
Okay, let's go ahead and get Kansas out of the way. Kansas not going to win a game. They suck. They're terrible. Okay?
Yeah.
So, last place, Kansas. Done. Iowa State, very, very interesting. And you know what? They actually have a matchup against Iowa in that rivalry game. It's either the first or second game. I'm not, off the top of my head, I'm not sure. So, we'll see a head-to-head between those two. So, I think Iowa State's the better team against Iowa, but against Wisconsin, I have Wisconsin winning the Big Ten West and possibly getting to the playoffs because I think Wisconsin could beat Ohio State. So, Wisconsin, Iowa State, I would actually have to give the nod to Wisconsin this particular year. That's how much confidence I have in Wisconsin. They're going to be a really good team. I think Graham Mertz settles in. That defense is going to be amazing. The run game is going to be much better than it was last year. It would be a very back and forth game between Wisconsin and Iowa State. If it was at Iowa State though, I don't know, man. Maybe Iowa State by a field goal, but if it's in Madison, I'll take Wisconsin by 2 touchdowns. Neutral site, I'll take Wisconsin by a touchdown.
Oh yeah, Wisconsin. I don't have them losing a game at home unless they have just some random slip up in a game that they shouldn't lose. And I'm not as high as a lot of people are on them because I don't trust Graham Mertz. His only great game was against Illinois. So I really haven't seen him be consistent, and I'm not going to believe it until I see it.
Yeah, I got you. I understand. I just got a super chat from True Seminole. It seems like he's having problems. He said, "Going to blue. The link keeps giving me an error. If the link's not working, then just type in my personal email. It's called refs suck. REF 2 S's UK at gmail.com. Refs suck at gmail.com. That's my email. REFS for refs, and then suck, SUK, at gmail.com. That's it.
I just put it in there.
All right, so hopefully that. But by the way, thank you for the super chat. That's an awesome super chat. I'm sorry that link wasn't working. Just give me your name, number, and I'll email you back, and boom, you're good to go. I do have Jeff Webster calling in, so I'm gonna get him in after you're done.
Yep. I was about to let you go anyway, so I will let JW take over.
All right. Well, great call, bud. Appreciate it.
Yep, same. No problem. See y'all.
Have a good one, bud.
Bye.
Jeff, you are J-Dub. We're going to call you J-Dub. Tiger, I haven't forgotten about you. We're going to have you on too. J-Dub, sorry, I missed your call. I was on the phone with Wisconsin fan, but you're good to go to call now. So, lines are open. J-Dub, call back. Sorry, I was on the phone with Wisconsin fan. You're good to go. Jeff Webster is who I'm talking to. Jeff Webster, you just called. Lines are open. Call back, bud. You're good. By the way, if you haven't... Here he is. Hey, give me 1 second, bud, but you are on. Quickly, guys, something that's free and easy, and it's not an ego stroke, it doesn't pat me on the back, is hitting that like button. What that does is it hits the YouTube algorithm, and it gets this video suggested to more people, and more people will come and talk. So, that would do me a great favor. It helps the show, and I would greatly appreciate it. Just hit that like button, and there you go. How you doing, Jeff? No, you know what? I'm going to call you. Are you good with JW? Are you good with JW?
I am, sir.
All right, I'm going to call you JW. What do you think about my video today about Iowa State possibly going to the Big Ten?
That's why I'm calling in. Iowa State is absolutely going to the Big Ten. Forget Oklahoma State. That's nonsense.
I hear you.
It's going to be Iowa State, and I'm going to tell you why. The athletic department and the University at Iowa State has all sorts of connections with Iowa, Minnesota, and Wisconsin. On top of which, they also have connections with Nebraska.
Yes.
All those other Big Ten schools want Iowa State. Now, I don't know how Penn State feels. I don't know how Michigan feels. But I guarantee you the other Midwestern states want the Cyclones and Kansas. They don't want Oklahoma State.
Yes.
I thought somewhere earlier somebody mentioned that Oklahoma State would be a great fit for wrestling in the Big Ten. And that's true.
Yeah.
But so would Iowa State.
Oh,
Iowa State
much better, actually.
Yes, is an outstanding wrestling program. And when Iowa and Iowa State meet every year for wrestling, it's 15,000. It's a sellout.
Yeah, that's crazy.
I know in parts of the country, the idea that 15,000 people would show up for a wrestling match is insane.
That's epic.
But here it happens.
Yeah.
And the people, I will say this about the Big Ten wrestling fans, and not just Illinois is good, Penn State is extremely good, coached by the best wrestler ever, Cale Sanderson. But the fans who show up for wrestling are SEC football fans in disguise. They are mad passionate.
Yeah, that meant I like. Quickly, thank you, Joey Foster, for super chat $5. He says super chat challenge. Let's support GBD. I appreciate your support, Joe. You're awesome, dude. I like that theory. I like that theory, but keep going on with that. I want to hear some more of that.
No, it's just and also yeah. Man, I've been getting all sorts of shit for saying this, GBD, but you got to look at the culture too.
Yeah.
Okay? Who your alumni are, where your alumni work, where do they live, where's your fan base at, what do they like to do, what are their interests, are they hunters or are they people who go to the art museum on the weekend?
Yeah.
Do they go fishing or do they go to the opera? I mean, who are you? And Iowa State fits the Big Ten better than Oklahoma State does. And that's why when I've talked to some people in Ames just the other day about West Virginia, they can't believe that West Virginia is even being that name is even being considered for the Big Ten. It's everybody here thinks West Virginia is such a natural fit in the ACC. They don't understand how they got in the Big 12 to begin with.
Yeah, as a West Virginia fan, I wish more people thought like Iowa State fans. Y'all had our number on the football field, but as far as having face-to-face conversations, y'all are smart and you have common sense.
Well, thank you. Well, if you and I were to walk through downtown Des Moines tomorrow with a pen and paper in our hands and just stop the first 50 people we met and said, when I say West Virginia football, what do you think about? Most of those people are going to say, well, they have rivalries with Pitt, and they play teams like Virginia and Virginia Tech, and that's what they're going to think. They're going to think West Virginia belongs playing the other schools in the Appalachian area and the Piedmont and Pennsylvania, and it's not that they're not welcome in the Big 12.
Right.
In fact, I've had great experiences with the West Virginia fans. They like to party, I'll tell you that.
Yeah, that's absolutely true.
But it's such a natural fit.
Yes.
You know, everything about West Virginia fits in the ACC, and you can make it fit. You can make it fit in the Big 12, but you have to make it.
Yes.
You don't have to make it fit in the ACC. It's like, well, haven't you been here all along? You know, it's like when you go to a party.
That's what I'm thinking.
You go to a party and you see somebody and you don't realize they've been there for like a half an hour, but you didn't know they were there.
Exactly.
And you're like, yeah. Well, like, where the hell have you been? I said, well, we've been here all along. Well, it's like, that's the thing with West Virginia. Where the hell have you been? Shouldn't you have been here all along? Yeah.
You know what the crazy thing with the ACC is? And I talk to a lot of ACC fans. I hear way more, why are they not in the ACC, instead of, why would we have them in the ACC? Like, just landslide on the side of, why are they not in the ACC right now?
Yeah, I mean, are you hearing? You're out there. I'm not. At least what I hear here, and what's been on some of the Iowa State and Iowa YouTube pages that I occasionally go to. I'm not on them a lot, but I'll occasionally go to them. There ain't very many of them, and they're not very good. But anyway, when West Virginia comes up, everybody's like, nobody in the ACC is anti-West Virginia joining them.
Right.
At least that's the opinion here. The opinion here is there would be nobody in the ACC who would say, why the hell would we want West Virginia? Well, if you said they were coming to the Big Ten, you might have some people going, well, wait a minute. That would mean we didn't get blank.
It would be more along the line, well, we must have missed out on so-and-so.
Right. There'd be more questions, you know.
And it would be so much as anti. It would be like, well, that must mean we missed out on somebody.
Right. That's you put it perfectly. There's no against West Virginia bias anywhere that I'm aware of. It's just that there's this big plus bias for the ACC, you know.
Right.
And everybody's like, eventually it might just happen because it's just has to.
Common
for lack
sense.
Of a better word.
Common
you know
sense.
What I mean? It just makes too much sense.
Yeah.
And we talk about I've been hyping about the culture. That makes Notre Dame by culture, by who they are. They're like maybe a 10-minute drive from the Michigan border. I don't think people realize how close South Bend is to Michigan and the Michigan border and to the suburban Chicago.
They're right next to Lake Michigan. I mean, right there.
Yeah. I mean, South Bend is not in rural Indiana. It's not down in Terre Haute. It's not down in Bloomington. It's okay. But the Big Ten and Notre Dame crossed swords when Penn State came in the 90s, and that blood has never gone away. And they're just not. I think Notre Dame will get forced into a conference. I think eventually they're not going to have a choice. But that conference is going to be the ACC. It's not going to be the Big Ten. I just don't see it happening.
I am telling you right now, I just have this gut feeling. Number one, I know for a fact that the ACC and West Virginia have been talking. West Virginia is going to the ACC, okay?
Yeah.
But they have to go in with somebody. And
Right.
to be honest with you, the ACC is the only conference that has been willing to put up with the BS that Notre Dame puts out with. I'm telling you, I can definitely see Notre Dame and West Virginia going to the ACC. I have this gut feeling about it. I really, really do.
I would agree with you. The only caveat that I could, and this is by no means a deal breaker. I'm not saying it's a deal breaker. It's just something they would have to work out.
Right.
Notre Dame would have to be allowed to continue to compete men's and women's hockey in the Big Ten.
Yes.
They're not going to sever those relationships.
Right.
But to get Notre Dame as a full-fledged partner for football and everything else, the ACC would just wink their eye at that. They'd say, "Okay."
Yeah, absolutely. And
don't forget, it's kind of silly saying this, but in a way it's true because of who they are.
Yep.
And who calls the shots. Notre Dame is a what? It is a private Catholic school, okay?
Yep.
And I'm Catholic. I went to an all-boys Catholic high school. The Catholic Church, Catholic charities, Catholic organizations, Catholic religious groups do nothing in a hurry. Everything takes forever.
You are
When the
correct.
Vatican changes a policy, it takes decades. I mean, it's just how the system works. And it's a bunch of priests and a bunch of smart Jesuits who are sitting on the board of directors at Notre Dame, and they're not going to be in a hurry to do anything, and they're not about to for somebody to tell them what they're supposed to do.
What about the other two things that nobody's talking about? Number one, Notre Dame is not AAU accredited. I know the Big Ten would
Right.
probably overlook that. I know that. But the other thing is the ACC is more winnable for Notre Dame than the Big Ten. Those
Yes.
are other two factors that I think are going to factor into this.
I think, dude, one of the things that could start to sway Notre Dame is who their alumni are. The alumni that went to school in South Bend in the 70s and the 80s, and remember the Ara Parsegian days, remember the Dan Devine days, remember the Lou Holtz days, remember the days when Notre Dame was playing Army and Navy and the USC, and they won the championship in '88, and Tim Brown won the Heisman.
Why'd you have to bring that up?
All those Notre Dame fans are now getting up there in age, and there's more alumni out there from the 90s and the 2000s and the 2010s,
Exactly.
and they're less inclined to be the capital T stick in the mud traditionalist Notre Dame alumni from the 60s and the 70s and the 80s, and they'll start their money, their contributions, their endowment money. They'll start leaning, and they'll eventually get their way. They'll put the pressure on. I think Notre Dame's coming to the ACC. I just think the thing about it is as much as you want to hold a gun to their head, don't.
Yeah.
You know, it's like what my mom used to say about my dad. She always got my way with my dad, but it was only after she convinced him that whatever they were going to do was his idea, not hers, even though it was hers all along.
There you go. You got to convince them that they thought of it.
Right. So if the ACC can make it seem like Notre Dame is playing hardball with us, and we had to let them in.
Right.
Then,
Exactly.
You know, if you have to do a little kissy, but I mean, it just makes too damn much sense. And West Virginia and Notre Dame. That doesn't mean it'll be those two, but I mean, I I just can't see who. If the ACC is going to add two, tell me who two are that are not West Virginia and Notre Dame are better fits than those two. Tell me who those two schools are. I don't know who they
Absolutely
are.
none. Absolutely none. I will say if they can't get Notre Dame, if that's a big if, I would go after a big market potential like UCF. But that's about it. That's about it.
Right. And don't you think? I think a shout out should be given to Whiskey Sportsman.
Yeah.
Who brought up a good idea? Oh, the ACC. What's with the coastal and the Atlantic and
It's weird. It's weird.
Why isn't there a north and a south? Why? Look, if your campus is in Morgantown, why the hell wouldn't you want to be playing Pitt and Virginia Tech and Virginia and Syracuse and Boston College? Doesn't that make a hell of a lot more sense?
Yes, sir.
Than
Absolutely.
having Florida State and Miami. I mean, they're way the hell down there.
I mean, if you look at the conferences, there's no real line. But one's here, one's there, one's here. It's weird.
Yeah, it's just like if you look at the SEC. I mean, no matter if you're a fan of the SEC or not, or you like somebody in the SEC or you hate them, you just look at the map of the SEC and it's like, okay, well, they moved Missouri to the west and they put Alabama and Auburn in the east.
That's it. Boom.
It's like, duh, an eighth grader could figure it out. Okay?
Yeah, and it keeps the iron ball in play.
You look at the Big Ten. Okay, let's see, and you say, all right, we had Kansas and Iowa State. What do we do now? Well, then you take Minnesota, Wisconsin, Nebraska, Iowa, Northwestern, and Illinois, and you make the West. And you just draw a line on the Illinois-Indiana border and say, if you're west of there, you're in the West, and if you're in the east of there, you're in the East. And it's 8-8. It just makes sense.
And the SEC thing that you brought up, not only would that keep the iron ball intact, but by Auburn and Alabama going to the East, that would keep the oldest rivalry in the Deep South, Georgia and Auburn, intact, playing every single year.
It'd keep Bama and Tennessee intact. It would imperil an every year Alabama LSU, which has grown into something.
Yeah, but it's not as much as the others.
Alabama LSU is not the Iron Bowl.
Right, exactly.
And it's not Georgia Auburn, and it's not Georgia Florida. There's just some things you got to preserve.
And you're keeping.
Why the hell would you not want Pitt playing West Virginia every year?
Right, exactly. And you're keeping Mississippi State, Ole Miss, the Egg Bowl, and you're adding. By Oklahoma and Texas coming, you're adding Arkansas, Texas, Arkansas, Oklahoma, and you're keeping Oklahoma, Texas, the Red River rivalry. I mean, makes sense to me.
You're putting Missouri in there, so you're getting kind of a flavor. You're getting getting a Big 8 / old school Southwest Conference flavor. You know, you're getting. You just look at the map. Close your eyes and look at the map. Texas, Texas A&M, Oklahoma,
Arkansas,
Missouri, LSU.
That's
All right down through the middle of the continental United States. All right down the Mississippi River. All right down the Red River. Right through the middle of the map. And then you throw in the two Mississippi State, the two schools from Mississippi.
Yeah. Exactly.
I know. You know, in the jet airplane age and in the internet age and all that the geography is not what it was when teams were having to go by train or go by bus or whatever the case. I know, but it still matters. It still matters, and it matters to the fan bases.
And even if you don't remember those historic rivalries, you don't think that they won't flare right back up immediately?
Right. Oh yeah.
I mean, seriously.
That's like when an Oklahoma fan was saying the other day, well, we don't have any, we're looking forward to playing Alabama. We're looking forward to playing LSU. We're looking forward to playing, Georgia, Florida, whatever. They're not our natural rivals yet, but we're looking forward to playing. And my response to that is just wait.
Yep. Exactly.
Just wait. They may not be rivals right now, but it's only going to take one meeting and the shit will be on.
Yeah, I agree, man. 100%.
And it matters to the fans because, look, if you're a South Carolina fan, how worked up are you to play Texas A&M? Who the hell is Texas A&M to you? They're nobody.
Nobody.
Georgia's right on your doorstep.
Exactly. Ding dong.
if you're West Virginia, what the hell's the value of coming out to Ames? Good barbecue? All right, well, we'll give you that.
Y'all have a tremendous atmosphere, but as far as actually, making sense, it made none.
Right. You know, go to a rural place with mountains and exchange it for a rural place flat as a piece of paper.
Oh, yeah.
That's all you're doing.
It's almost like a shock value. Y'all coming to West Virginia and us going to Iowa State. We're like, what the heck is this?
Yeah.
Not relatable at all. And that's not meaning, we're like looking down on each other. It's just like, I'm not used to this at all. What's going on here?
Yeah, and it's, I know because I've done it.
Right.
It's 11 hours in the car. Well, it's 10 hours in the car, but then you got to add an hour because you get into the Eastern time zone. So
yep.
Your watch says 11 hours if you drive from Des Moines to Pittsburgh.
Yes.
And you're not even in Morgantown yet. You're just in Pittsburgh.
Yeah, because people don't realize the route you got to take isn't like just a direct route to Morgan. It's like you got to go up through the Panhandle and then back down.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's rough.
Yeah, well, it's kind of like Penn State College. It's out in the middle. How the hell do you get
hold
there?
on 1 second. So to clear this up, this is the comment that I'm getting a ton. So, and this, I'm not disrespecting you, Mike. So when is West Virginia supposed to announce their move to the ACC? I'm just not completely sold on it yet. And I understand that everybody is basing their thought process on when they're going to announce it. The announcement is based on these legal things. Bob Bowlesby with this stupid letter to the SEC kind of, hyped people up on their heels, making sure that they do everything in legality because a lot of money is up for grabs right now. You don't want to end up having to pay a big buyout. So just because you're not hearing an announcement doesn't mean it's not going to happen. But I understand if you're basing it, whether you think it's true or false, on the announcement. But trust me, the announcement is coming. Have patience. I thought it was going to be within 2 weeks. Maybe I was wrong about that. I'll be the first to say that. But I also didn't see good old Bob sending a letter to the SEC. I don't think anybody saw that coming. So little things can happen here and there to push the announcement out. But I promise you, the announcement is still coming. It is. I actually had to reconfirm it with my sources because I was like, well, he did that letter. So even myself had to go back and reconfirm to make sure they were still saying the same things. They are. That's one comment that I keep seeing over and over. Where's this announcement? Where's this announcement? And I get it. I get it. You'll believe it when you see it. I understand that. But it's coming, and when it comes, it's going to be one of the happiest days of your life as a West Virginia fan. I promise you that.
I just wonder if I said this on Mark Rogers' show the other day. Maybe there's just going to be a lot of talk, and just for the next year, for 2021 and 2021 season to play out. Everybody just kind of cool their jets a little bit.
Yes.
And, you got the NIL going on. You got the transfer portal in full power. You got this new move to the SEC.
Well, and people don't realize West Virginia...
Everybody might just take a step back and say, let's let 6 months go by and see where we're at.
And West Virginia is not Oklahoma or Texas. That's the one big thing about them being able to announce immediately, in West Virginia, not. The difference in brand is a big deal. But it is still happening, so I'm here to reassure everybody. I know we haven't seen the announcement yet. I thought it was going to be happening by this very weekend. Probably not, but it is still coming. And I do think it will be West Virginia and Notre Dame. I am convinced of that. Now, my sources haven't confirmed Notre Dame, but they have confirmed West Virginia, for sure. I think that's going to be a great ACC, too. What do you think?
I think it strengthens the ACC. Both schools add to the ACC's pop.
Yes.
And I look forward to seeing it. I mean...
and people say that West Virginia doesn't bring anything to the table. because they go by the state's population. West Virginia's alumni and fan base extends way past West Virginia. Here in the upstate of South Carolina, we have bars, and it's called the Master Room. Whoever has the most fans that show up on a weekly basis gets the Master Room. Guess who gets it? It's a fight between Ohio State fans and West Virginia fans. And a lot of the times, West Virginia fans can overtake the Ohio State fan base. So it's all over the country. And like I've said in one of my videos, they're going to bring more eyeballs when they play Syracuse. Syracuse football games, their ratings are going to go through the roof because you're going to bring in West Virginia fans, and Syracuse fans are going to be more interested. Same with Boston College. Definitely with Pitt. Definitely with Virginia Tech and Miami and whoever else you want to throw in as far as old Big East rivals. West Virginia does bring something to the table when it comes to the ACC.
Yeah, West Virginia is an example of a quote-unquote smaller school who hits above their belt.
Right.
I mean, they bring more pop than probably what their national name recognition brings.
Right. That's a good way to put it.
I would equate that to a certain extent. Kind of the same argument with the Hawkeyes with Iowa.
Yes.
It's a small state. It's a small group of alumni, but they travel during the regular season. They travel very well, and they always have a huge, I don't care what bowl it is, they have an enormous bowl turnout.
Yeah.
So the bowls want Iowa because Iowa's going to bring their fans because they're dying to get the hell out of Iowa in the middle of December.
Exactly. Exactly.
So it's an example of a school that punches above their weight class.
Right.
Hey, I would get out of the way because I'm sure there's probably about 50 people in here who are sick of hearing my voice. So
it was a great call. It was a great call. Always.
All right. Hey, thanks, dude. I'll just drop into the comment section and thanks everybody for putting up with me.
You're gonna call back on Saturday, right?
I hope to.
All right. I'll be here, man. Have a good night.
All right.
Bye, bud. Yeah, Tiger, you're good to go to call in. But Jeff, man, he brings up a lot of points, and I get the whole, West Virginia's brand is not as big as Ohio State's, and that's not what I was saying. That wasn't the point that I was making. The point that I was making is West Virginia's fan base, alumni, is much bigger than people realize. And in this particular section of upstate South Carolina, they have taken over the Master Room. And it's sometimes West Virginia, sometimes Ohio State. It's neck and neck. Now, in other places, Ohio State probably runs the joint. That's probably true. But I'm just giving you an overview that the fan base and alumni is bigger. And Jim Hamrick said they bring a lot to regional games, but what about national games? Well, in the ACC, they're looking for regional games. They're not looking for what does West Virginia versus USC bring in? What does West Virginia versus whoever in? They need ratings for the ACC. They need ratings for the ACC network. They need a higher rating for a Pitt game. They need a higher rating for a Louisville game, for a Miami game, for insert name, ACC. So no, they don't draw a lot for a national matchup. But they will draw more for an ACC regional matchup, and that's what the ACC needs. They need more eyeballs for these regional. Tiger Baskins, you're good to call in whenever, bud. JW's off. And JW, man, he has an enormous wealth of knowledge. People don't know this. He's actually a sideline reporter for Iowa State. So he's had personal experience with Iowa State, the Big 12, and West Virginia. He definitely knows his stuff. So I definitely appreciate him calling in and giving his insight because he brings a lot to the table. I appreciate him as a caller. So never feel like people are putting up with you. I know it's the same voice for a while, but it happens. People stuck around. So it was fine. Don't worry about that, man. But yeah, that was what I was pointing out for the ACC. they need more eyeball. They need more eyeballs for the regional games. That is important. They need to build the ACC network up, and that's exactly what West Virginia would bring to the table, especially with the old Big East rivalries. So earlier today, until by the way, Tiger Baskin's line is open. You may call in. I think you know the number. If not, you might not be calling in. But earlier today, I did my video on where Texas and Oklahoma would rank in the SEC this year. If they were to start playing in the SEC, where would they finish in the SEC this year? And I went back and I looked at their records since the last merger because, like I said in my video, what happened 20 years ago doesn't really matter. Okay, it just doesn't. It's how good are they now? So since the merger, Oklahoma, of course, has been the best team in the SEC, in the Big 12, with the 96-22 record since the merger. Texas, on the other hand, the sixth best team in the Big 12 since the merger, 65-48. Just a smidge better than West Virginia, just one spot higher than West Virginia. So, relating to the SEC, what did I do with my SEC? Here we go. So, relating to the SEC, Oklahoma would fall in the second spot if you're going by record. And I know strength of schedule, totally different. Having that record in the Big 12 and having that record in the SEC, totally different. So I would keep Oklahoma in the top 4. Alabama, since the last merger, 113-10. Georgia, 92-27. Oklahoma's record just a little bit better, but from the Big 12. LSU 84-30 and Texas A&M 77-37. So I would keep Oklahoma in those top 4. Maybe not the second best like their record reflects, but a top 4 team in the SEC. For Texas, totally different story, guys. If you go by their record, Texas would fall in the 8th spot in the 9th spot just above South Carolina. No, it might be the 8th spot. No, if you add Oklahoma, it would be the 9th spot. I have it. The 9th spot. But if you factor in the difficulty from the Big 12 to the SEC schedule, Texas might be in the 10th spot, 11th spot. It's not going to be good for Texas, especially right off the bat. Y'all bear with me for a second. They're saying I have some emails from some people that want to call in, so give me 1 second. Sorry about that. I didn't realize it would disconnect. Sorry. But good news is, True, you're good to go. You can call in. I don't know if I sent you the number though. Dadgummit. Crap. Hold on 1 second. I might have to go back in. Oh, crap. Joey, will you do me a favor? Is there any way he could send an email to you? Because I can't get back into my email without, like, getting off the show, and I don't want to do that. So, if you would, I have his number. So, all I need for you to do, Joey, is send him the call-in number. So I would see his number pop up. I would know it's him. We would be good. All I need is for you to send True Seminole the call-in number. So put your email so True can email you who he is, and then you can email back the call-in number. Because I just figured out there's the email, True Seminole. Email Joey who you are. I already have your number, and he'll email you the call-in number, because we're not putting the call-in number in the chat. That turned out to be a disaster a while back. So if you want to call in, just email Joey. He'll email you the call-in number, and we'll be good to go. But so far, we've had a lot of great calls. I do apologize for how we have to do this, but I'm telling you guys, the first night that I did this and we put it in the chat, it was horrendous. I was ignoring calls the whole time and getting trolls in the whole time. It was bad. So if you factor in strength of schedule, Texas could be like the 10th best or 9th best team in the SEC this year. So y'all need to step it up, Texas. If you don't want to fall flat on your face and embarrass yourself in your first year in the SEC, you're gonna have to step up. This year, you're gonna have to prove that number one, you can compete better in the Big 12, because in the Big 12 since the merger, 6th best team. Going by record, numbers don't lie. Going by your record, 6th best team. Now we got Tiger Baskins calling in. I'll try to. Is that you, Tiger?
Yes, sir. This is Tiger Bass.
Yeah, I've had more call-ins than I realized what was going to happen, but I already had their numbers down, so it worked out good. What's going on?
No, it's okay. I got off late today, dude. I apologize completely. We've been working. We've been doing slabs and stuff all week, and we just installed a sewer line tonight, which was crazy. But no, dude, I'm just happy to see you on, man. I'm happy to be on. I love listening to this show on Wednesdays. How's your day going?
Oh, it's pretty good, man. I've had a pretty good day. I had to work my part-time job a couple hours today, but I let them know that I'll probably be quitting soon because the channel has grown exponentially, which means the revenue has grown exponentially, which means I can do it full-time.
Dude, I'm so proud of you. Everybody in the chat, first off, in the comments, y'all need to hit the like button. We'd very much appreciate that. Second off, know that this man has put in a crap load of work, and for it finally to pay off, it's like seeing your best friend hit the lottery. You know, it's like seeing somebody you really know, get what they want out of life, and that's what I love about this YouTube community is everybody is positive about each other, and
absolutely,
you don't have envy. You don't have people out here jealous and wanting to be all upset. So.
Hold on one second. Here we go. This is what I'm talking about right here. Thank you. First off, thank you for the super chat, Clemson Eagle. Check this out, $5 super chat. So first off, thank you for that. But he said, saw your car at Walmart yesterday. Yes, I do have a bumper sticker, so that was me. I bust out laughing because I was listening to you on my way to the store. West Virginia and Penn State ACC hoops. So he was listening to me. The last part of your comment kind of confuses me. Let me read that back to you, Tiger, and see if I'm just off. So he says, saw your car at Walmart yesterday and bust out laughing because I was listening to you on the way to the store. That's one sentence, okay?
Okay.
Then the other sentence says, West Virginia and Penn State ACC hoops. Maybe he's wanting me to talk about West Virginia.
I would think so. Yeah, like that. He couldn't fit in everything. So
Okay,
that was his
okay.
subject.
I gotcha. But that's awesome. So that means that Clemson Eagle is holding true to his name. He lives near Clemson because that's where I live near. So he saw my car at Walmart, and yes, I go to the Central Walmart. You know what I'm talking about, Clemson Eagle. The Central Walmart is where it's at to do some shopping the other day. So the next time you see my bumper sticker, come up and say, hey, what's up? This is Clemson Eagle, man. Simple as that.
Okay. Second, I have to say before we start talking about basketball, what's your Cash App, big dog?
Oh, I was just now corrected. ACC Hopes, not ACC Hoops. Thanks, Jim. I read that wrong. Makes more sense. All right, go ahead.
Got you.
There you go.
What's your Cash App?
My Cash App? Hold on one second here.
Anybody else in the comment section, if you have a Cash App, not a PayPal, and you want to send Golden Blue Dude a message, you can.
Cash App is, well, the first letter is capital, so capital G, and then BD, so GBD, but that first G is capital, and then at goldenbluedude.com, all small, lowercase, all lowercase. GBD at goldenbluedude.com.
goldenbluedude.com. That's your Cash App?
That is my Cash App, sir.
Okay, so if I'm just going to go ahead and send it. I'm not even going to view the profile. I trust you. All right, tell me if you got it. I just
you better let me know if there's another Golden Blue Dude out there. I will not be happy about that at all. If there's another Golden Blue Dude out there, you're going down, bud. You are going down.
All right, I just sent it. You just let me know if you got it.
All right. Well, I'll have to tell you after the show's over because I'm
That's fine.
losing my.
No, that's fine. Well, go ahead and hit the. He wanted to talk about ACC hoops. You want to talk about West Virginia?
Well,
and Penn
hopes.
State?
No. Actually, I read that wrong. It was West Virginia, Penn State, ACC hopes. Now, West Virginia, I get, but Penn State, they're not leaving the Big Ten. So let's stick with West Virginia ACC hopes. How about that?
Okay, no, I'm fine with that. I'll let you go first if you want, because it's your team.
Yes. Well, we have been talking about that at length for a while now. So
Okay.
I am strongly confident that West Virginia is going to the ACC, and I expected an announcement sooner rather than later, and it hasn't happened. So that's throwing some people off. They're like, well, you expected it sooner, and we haven't heard it. I'm starting to doubt you, and I understand that. They're one of those I'll believe it when I see it type of people, and that's fine. I understand
I
that.
got you.
But I haven't wavered. In fact, on a daily basis, I go to my sources and I reconfirm it. That way, you know, if I need to make a video apologizing, say I'm wrong, I'm gonna do it. I promise you, I will do it. If for whatever reason one day I call them and I say, hey, is it still going down? And they say, nope, things happened. Boom, I will do a video saying, guys, my sources changed their mind. I was wrong. It looks like it's not going to happen. But I have not heard that from my sources yet, and I keep confirming it every single day.
Okay.
So I'm very confident that they're going to the ACC. And even though I don't have sources for this, I have a really good feeling that it's going to be Notre Dame that they pull in with them. Because, number one, I think the ACC is probably one of the only conferences that will put up with the Notre Dame NBC crap. Number two, the ACC is very winnable, more so than the Big Ten and the SEC, and Notre Dame wants to be the best of the best. So they're going to go to a conference, A, as long as it's still a Power 5, the ACC is, B, more winnable than the others, check mark. And they have experience with the ACC. I think they fit really, really well. And they don't have AAU accreditation, so the Big Ten would actually have to break a rule to send an invite to Notre Dame. I think it's going to be Notre Dame with West Virginia. I really do.
Can I add a C to that?
Go ahead.
Okay. C. Notre Dame is one of the only schools left out there that has a huge tradition like Texas and Oklahoma.
Yeah.
So now ACC is looking to add some stature, some more value to the ACC. And who else would you go after besides Notre Dame? Like you said, you're not getting Penn State. Penn State's out here recruiting in top 10, top 15 every year. Well, Notre Dame's signing people left and right now. You want to make the ACC look better, you go after Notre Dame.
That's right.
This is going to make a few people happy, so I'm just going to go ahead and do it. Just a few shout-outs to you guys in the comment section. I know you want to be heard. Ron Myers, Denver Snyder, Go Knowles, FSU, Ray Finkel's house, of course. Mark Jacobs, John Kelly, Bart Simpson. Coos Walker, West Virginia fan. I'm sure you're welcome here. Very, very much. John Kelly, Rod Nix, and Jason Osborne. Couldn't name all of you guys, but good to see all of you.
Hey.
Appreciate you guys being here.
Listen to this. So Mike King, one of the comment guys, just said that Tony Karate, which is, I think I'm pronouncing that right. If I'm not, forgive me. He's a West Virginia reporter. Today, he said, he was on today, and he said, no decision, listen to this wording, no decision has been made as far as going to the ACC. Okay.
Really?
Listen to the wording of that. So, if West Virginia were not going to the ACC, he would have shut it down. But what did he say? No decision has been made.
That means they're thinking about it, big dog.
That means they're talking just like I said, and they're trying to draw in Notre Dame with them. And if Notre Dame doesn't go in, they're going to have a backup plan. But that tells you right there, West Virginia and the ACC, they're talking. It's going to happen, guys. I'm telling you.
Hey, Golden Blue Dude, he said True Seminole is ready to call in. I'm going to let him call in real quick, and then I'll pick up after him, okay?
Sounds good. Appreciate it.
All right, see you, bud.
All right, bud. Bye. All right, True Seminole, the line is open for you. Tiger Baskin's graciously bowed out for you. You got the phone number, I'm assuming. I got your phone number, so let's do this. Whatever you want to talk about. It doesn't have to be West Virginia. I know West Virginia has kind of dominated this evening's topic in conversation, but you know, it's pretty hot topic among West Virginia fans right now. So we're ready when you are, man. Just call in whenever you're ready, and we're good to go. I'm assuming that Joey gave you the number, and we're good to go. So, but yeah, I appreciate all the super chats this evening. Ray Finkel, man, a big one, $99.99. That was a great one. Joey Foster sent in the $5 one, and then Clemson Eagle sent in a $4.99 one. So that was awesome. And we do have Florida State fans in the chat, so they want you to represent the Florida State fan base. But Texas and Oklahoma going to the SEC. I think Oklahoma is going to be just fine. Top 14. Texas, on the other hand, good gosh. They're not... They're going to embarrass themselves right off the bat. And another thing is, the SEC is not going to kiss your rear end like the Big 12 did. Yes, you're still a big name. Yes, you bring in a lot of money. That's why they went after you. But now you're a big fish as far as money goes in a big pond. A lot of teams, a lot of universities that make a lot of money around you. So you're not going to get special treatment. And I guarantee it, because of the week before the announcement that Oklahoma and Texas were going to the SEC, the Big 12 came out and made it clear that doing horns down in your opponent's face, which we already knew was going to be flagged, you know, kind of gave you a black eye. Guess what's going to happen? Every road game that you go to now, it's going to be 10 times as worse. I mean, everybody's going to be double horns down. So if there's 100,000 people in there, you're going to see 200,000 horns down in there. So prepare yourselves. It's going to happen. And the home cooking or the favorable ref flags that you get in the Big 12, it might come back eventually in the SEC. Eventually. But not for the first 3 or 4 years. Not until everybody gets used to you. So you're not going to get the preferable ref treatment as well. So just brace yourself, Texas. It's going to be a bumpy first 3 or 4 years, and maybe eventually, you know, your recruiting does catch up with you, and you figure out how to finally develop quarterbacks, have a pretty good defense, wide receiving core. Ever since Shipley was gone, your wide receiving core has been like average at best. Nothing great. You do have Bijan Robinson, but I don't know. I just think Texas is in for a rough first 3 or 4 seasons. Still waiting on you, True Seminole. I'm pretty excited. I think he's building suspense, and it's working. I'm pretty excited waiting on him to call in. So I'm definitely ready. Ray Finkel's house says, start the Goose GBD. Gardendale's finest. Yes. Will Crowder. He's got a cannon. But I don't know. Garrett Green, dual threat quarterback. Kind of reminds me of Pat White. Could happen. If you aren't familiar with what we're talking about, that's West Virginia's starting quarterback battle. Jarrett Day will win right off the bat, but later on it could be the other two. But yeah, 200,000 horns down. LSU Stadium, over 100,000. So in that stadium, you're going to have 200,000 horns down. Alabama, I think they're over 100,000. So in Alabama, if you go to Tennessee, it's gonna be over 100,000. Let's see, who else? Anybody else have over 100,000 in the SEC? I know Florida has close to it. They have like 90 some thousand. That's still, 180,000 horns down. Point is, you're going to see a lot of them. A lot of them. If you add them all together, not even exaggerating, one season, Texas players and Texas fans that go to every game, Kyle Field, that's right, over 100,000. Over 1 million horns down in a regular season. I bet you never thought you'd live to see the day where you would witness a million horns down in front of your face in one regular college football season. What about that? That's not even exaggerating. That's giving some wiggle room. A million horns down in throughout a regular season is definitely doable. And I think it's going to happen, especially in the first year. You better believe in the first year, it's going to be nuts. And it's going to be so crazy that the refs are going to be like, I know we're supposed to throw a flag, but I'm not going to be the first one to do this because I'll go down in infamy in history. So, they might not even throw flags for them. They might actually let them go into the face of Texas players, do the horns down. I didn't see nothing. I was looking that way. What are you talking about? Did something happen? I don't know. I didn't see nothing. So, yeah. Brace yourself. And West Virginia got flagged because we did a horns down to the crowd. And that's actually allowed. Like, you're not supposed to get flagged for that. Yeah, I think Tiger... Yeah, I don't think True ever called in. I didn't see a missed call or anything.
I wanted to make sure if he does call in. I mean, I don't mind hopping off.
No, you're good. It's time for the home stretch, anyways.
Let's do it. Well, okay, we got two things. I'm saying two comments or two main topics in the comment section. One is North Carolina and Kentucky, and they wanted us to discuss not just their hopes, but really their football team. So if you want to start with North Carolina, you tell me. How do you feel about North Carolina this coming year?
Are we talking playoffs hopes or national championship or winning the ACC? What level?
Okay, so the comment I heard was, it was just, he said, Tiger, what do you think about North Carolina this upcoming season? How do you think they'll do? And
Okay.
I would say that my thought is, North Carolina definitely looks good, especially with how they ended last year. They have a lot of hype built around their program, but a lot of these other teams just had their off year, and most of these teams that had their off year don't have 2 off years in a row.
That's true. Well,
So it's tough.
I would say for North Carolina here, I think number one, they have a 10-win season. Number two, they do win the Coastal, even if it's a tiebreaker. I do think they win the Coastal, but I still think they don't quite have enough to beat Clemson. I think they could make it close, maybe like I'll say like a 38-31, 38-28 type of game. So it'll definitely be competitive, not the usual blowout. Not even like the blowout we saw against Notre Dame. I think they could put up a better fight than Notre Dame did last year. So I'm going to go with 10-win season, win the Coastal, however it is, via the tiebreaker. I don't care. They win it, and competitive game against Clemson that they lose, and they get back to a New Year's Six bowl.
Yeah, I like that because either way, you just described, North Carolina has nothing but looking up.
Right.
There's no downhill for you guys. Nobody expects you to win the ACC. All they expect is for you guys to be as good as you were last year, which we have to remember, North Carolina almost beat Clemson. They took a chance and went for it. They went for 2 instead of going for 1, and I don't blame Mac Brown. Me and you have talked about this in the past. Teams that have depth, it's harder to beat them in overtime. It's harder to beat them in the fourth quarter because they stay fresh.
That was the correct decision. It was.
Yes, and that's why I respect North Carolina so much. North Carolina fans, to me, are so realistic, and I think it has a lot to do with their coach, Mr. Brown. Dude, he talks so good. Like, I love listening to this guy talk. And can I tell a story about Mac Brown before we move on to Kentucky?
Yeah, but can we move on to Virginia Tech because we just had a question?
Yeah. Okay, we'll move to Virginia. So this quick story about Mac Brown. This is what made him the coolest coach to me, and I respect him so much. He said when he was at Texas, he had Ricky Williams playing for him, who was an NFL. I mean, he's literally a Hall of Fame player.
Yeah.
Running back, great running back. He said he called him one day after a game, and that he had just scored like 3 touchdowns, over 200 yards rushing, and he didn't have food. And he called his coach, and he's like, hey, Coach Brown, I'm hungry. And Mac Brown was like, Ricky, I can't get you any food. That's against the NCAA violations. Like, I'll get fired. And he was like, well, Coach, that's not fair. He said, like, I just made the school millions of dollars. Like, I should just go do something stupid, and then that way I get in trouble and I can't play next weekend.
Yep.
He said within 30 minutes, Mac Brown showed up at his house with 50 tacos from Taco Bell.
Wow.
And he said, I hope this will last you through the week. And that, to me, that is a real person. That's not a coach. That's
awesome.
Not a person with a job. That's a real person.
Yeah.
So
I agree with that.
I like him.
That was
I like
a good
him
story.
for that.
So we had a question from John Kelly. He says, question is, how good is Virginia Tech this year? I'll let you give your take after me. Real quick, I think Virginia Tech does not. I think this is the last year for Justin Fuente. He has been a bust. They're recruiting so-so, but the problem is they can't develop a quarterback. I don't see them, number one, having a winning season or getting to a bowl. I have them going something like 5-7, missing a bowl, and Justin Fuente getting fired.
Ooh,
Yeah.
man, I see, dog. That's okay. I'm not going to disagree, even though I probably don't want to agree on that.
Yeah.
You can't. You can't not agree with it. I trained a kid that went to Rome High School that is now an outside linebacker for Virginia Tech.
Yeah.
And just from hearing from him, the word is that that's probably on the verge of happening. There's too much talent there for them not to be able to compete.
Right.
So, you're not wrong. I think Virginia Tech has too much talent to be a subpar ACC team. So
Yeah, and I know they're a rival of West Virginia, but this is not a knock on Virginia Tech. This is a knock on Justin Fuente. He has built up so much pressure on himself now because letdown after letdown after letdown year. And this year, he knows he's going to be coaching for his job, and he's going to be making some bad decisions, and they're going to lose some games that they probably should win. To be honest with you, because they do have talent, but I think the mental game is going to get to Justin Fuente, and this will be his last season in Blacksburg.
hey, y'all heard it here first. Golden Blue Dude out here spitting facts. I think this is the end of that run, just because everybody else is making moves, and Virginia Tech has too much. They're too historical not to try to get back up to the top. They're not going to let their program run into the ground like that.
Right.
Definitely too much. But I'll go ahead. I'm going to start hopping off just because I know you're ready to call it a night. You've had a ball and show once again.
But real quick, you wanted to talk about Kentucky, right? Let's do them real quick.
Okay. I know.
Wait. I was just thinking that, Brian Myers. Matt Campbell to Blacksburg. He goes on the list. Happy Valley, Los Angeles, Ann Arbor, somewhere else. Blacksburg, no, not on the list. I do think that we do have True Seminole beeping in now.
Oh, okay. All right.
Yeah,
All right.
I'm going to take him. All right. Thanks for filling that in, though.
You're welcome. See you, buddy.
See ya. There he is. What's going on, True?
Hey, man. So sorry I couldn't call earlier. My phone died and I got locked outside the house. So.
You are good to go, my friend. You're going to take us down the home stretch, man.
Oh, yeah, man. I want to talk about something real quick.
Okay.
I want to talk about, I like Mark Rogers. I love the video you have with Mark Rogers. I just have one little problem.
Okay.
I don't think the answer to the ACC's problems right now is adding a third school in Florida. And I don't think that's the key to it. I think one of the things the ACC should focus on is expanding their brand and their footprint, bringing in other states like West Virginia or Tennessee. I think that would be the way to do it, expanding the footprint, building a foundation to build upon, I think is the better way to do it.
I agree with that, and I think with me, the UCF comment was more of a who would be the backup as far as if the ACC weren't able to land a Notre Dame. I personally think it's going to be West Virginia Notre Dame. For the reasons that I've listed earlier, I think they're the only conference that's willing to put up with Notre Dame's crap with NBC. It's more winnable than the Big Ten. They're not an AU accreditation, so that kind of is an X on them for the Big Ten. I do think it's going to be West Virginia Notre Dame. I really do.
Oh, without a doubt. I believe that's the ACC's first choice, and
Yes.
it should be. Notre Dame's obviously the biggest fish right now the ACC can get.
Right.
And West Virginia is probably the next thing we can get.
And I think West Virginia is the one that makes the most sense.
Oh, yeah. But other than that, I mean, West Virginia obviously is a bigger brand than going to get in a group of 5 school.
Right, exactly. I agree with that.
Right. So I do want to say this. If by chance, and it could happen, I believe you about the West Virginia to the ACC. I don't know about Notre Dame yet. I'm not sold on it yet, but I do think if Notre Dame does not come to the ACC, I believe the next option the ACC should pursue is Memphis.
That's not a bad choice because that would extend their footprint. You there?
Yeah, I'm here. I'm here, man.
I agree with that. A lot of people would say no because, Memphis hadn't had a lot of success. But the thing with Memphis is, number one, it would increase the ACC's footprint, especially for the state of Tennessee. And Memphis, that's a pretty sizable TV market.
Yeah, and honestly, after living in Tennessee for like 2 years, I moved here to Tennessee from Florida. So, and just living here 2 years, you can really tell there's a cultural difference from Memphis or West Tennessee and East Tennessee.
Oh yes, definitely.
I mean, they had college football game day there like not even a year ago or two.
Yeah.
And you can definitely tell they carry their market. And I don't think it's arguable to say that Memphis has been the best team in Tennessee for the past 4 or 5 years.
That's true as well. I didn't think of that. Yeah, very true.
And I believe you just smack a Power 5 label on the Memphis logo, and they could possibly pull a lot of that talent that is very underrated in Tennessee.
Yes.
And those players want to stay home, and you give them options like the Vols are in the scandal issues,
Yeah.
and Vanderbilt. Who wants to play for Vanderbilt? I'm sorry.
Nobody.
But,
Nobody.
those aren't the best decisions for the kids
And
around.
that tells you how good the coach for Penn State was while he was at Vanderbilt. He's winning 8 and 9 games. Somebody. Well, the call dropped. Call back whenever you can. True. We're winding the show down, but I wanted to wind it down with you. So give us a call back. True. The call dropped for whatever reason, but I mean Memphis wouldn't be a bad option for the ACC. It would extend their footprint. They do have a sizable TV market, and if you look at Memphis's record on a year-to-year basis, they're either at 10 wins or 9 to 11. They're consistently good. Can't really put them in the elite category like Cincinnati is right now, but they have definitely been more consistent than Cincinnati. So if the ACC were to go after a group of 5 team, Memphis, I think, would be in the conversation. Now, whenever I did the live show with Mark Rogers, he didn't quite agree with that, and he did have his reasons. I'm going to have to disagree with Mark Rogers just on that particular note because I do think Memphis, I think, number one, they would be better than a Cincinnati because Cincinnati's in a flash in the pan right now. I don't know if it's sustainable or not. I think Memphis has a better TV market than Cincinnati because Ohio State owns the state of Ohio, and that includes the city of Cincinnati. And Memphis has a bigger fan base than Cincinnati. And I know they get a strike for not being able to fill their 60,000 seat Liberty Bowl on a consistent basis. But, it is what it is. But as far as making money for the ACC, I think they would make more money than Cincinnati. And then there's UCF, that wild card. I think UCF has the potential to make some money for the ACC. I mean, they're right smack dab in the middle of Disney country. They have the biggest on-campus student body in the nation. There is definite potential in UCF. And I know you have Florida State and Miami, and then UCF in the middle. I think they can make things interesting. I'm going to go ahead and wind down the show. getting a little tired, guys. Got a long day of driving kids to school tomorrow and doing my videos and all that good stuff. Hey, I appreciate all y'all coming out and making this show great. 79 likes. That's amazing, guys. I appreciate it. The super chats. I remember you, True Seminole, Joey Foster, and Clemson Eagle. Hey, next time you see my bumper sticker, knock on the window or run me down, whatever, get my attention. Say, hey, we'll talk some football for a good 5-10 minutes or however long you got. Hey, you want to talk for an hour, I'll talk for an hour. I love college football. But anyways, yes, Jim, UCF only has 40,000 seat stadium, but look at Wake Forest, like 31,000. So I don't think that's a problem. But anyways, I'm going to wrap it up, guys. I appreciate y'all stopping by. I'll be back on Saturday night. I'm going to be out of state, so I might push it to Sunday, depending on if I get Wi-Fi, because I'm going to be up in West Virginia on Saturday. So if I'm not on Saturday, I will be on Sunday at 9 o'clock. So keep that in mind. But I appreciate y'all dropping by. Great show as always. Because of you guys. It's nothing I do. It's because of you. It's awesome stuff. Had a great time. Hope you had a good time. Tell people about Golden Blue Dude. And if you came by this live show and you're not subscribed to Golden Blue Dude, hit that subscribe button and see what we're all about. Videos every single day. I've done this for over a year straight as far as not missing one single day. So if you like college football, this is the channel for you. Y'all have a good night. And if I don't see you on Saturday, I will definitely see you on Sunday. And we'll see you then.